Can you see it?
Yep.
You don't need to see it, but all right. I don't know how many people we have on here, but one of the first questions that people always ask me is when I'm pushing out a lot of deals and you see all these deals coming across and we're managing properties and I'm doing consulting for other mobile home parks. How do you do it? And I'll touch on finding deals a little bit later in the presentation. I'll try to make it as quick and as easy as possible for you guys. But how I do it starts at very early in the morning. When I come into the office, I do this 7-minute incantation. And really what this does is just help put me in the mindset for the day. If you think about yourself as an investor or potential future investor, think about the fear that you have when you're analyzing a property or you want to get involved or you hear is a cash cow and you can make so much money and it's better place to put your money than the banks. The one thing that typically stops people is nothing else besides their mindset in life and where they're at. This quick little incantation that we're going to do, and I'm actually going to stand up and show you how I do it. It doesn't work if you watch it. It doesn't work if you listen. It only works if you do it. And it's all about moving your body and paying attention. Some of you might have heard of Tony Robbins. He's the #1 motivational speaker in the world. I've had the opportunity to go to countless of his seminars in person, meet him in person. I had a great experience where I walked on 1,500-degree burning coals barefoot on a 30-foot stretch. And it was about 4 hours of prep on the mindset of that. And you can't tell your foot that it's not going to be burned, but you can change your perception of the situation. And this not only applies to mobile home park investing, but it applies to humans and life in general. So can you guys see my main screen with this video on it, Shane?
Yes, I see the screen with the guy with his hand out.
All right, so I can't see everybody here. I don't know where you're at or if you're at home or whatever, but I want you to kind of watch this, and it's probably better if you stand up, but let's just listen to Tony for the first 5 minutes here and kind of put ourselves in the right mindset for not only the presentation, but our lives. And I did this morning. I do it every morning. And it truly does help. So we'll get started here, but let's listen to Tony for about 5 minutes.
So many of you have heard the term affirmations, where you say something over and over again. Affirmations by themselves sometimes just lead to delusion. If you go, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. Your brain goes, bullshit, you're not happy. Because you're saying it verbally, but you're not embodying it with your whole body. What I want you to do is to try something. I want you to feel strong, feel your body, and shout the word yes with all your intensity. Go.
Yes.
Say it again.
Yes.
Even stronger.
Yes.
One more time.
Yes.
Now, in this state of certainty, I want you to think about that goal you wrote down earlier, those 2 goals. That goal, that desire. And how are you going to feel when you actually achieve it, when you make it happen? And all I want you to do in your body is, I want you to lock in that sense of certainty. We're going to do it 2 ways. First, we're just going to say a phrase, these couple of phrases over and over. And then to finish here, we're going to shake the building with our intensity. And what we're going to do is anchor into our body that feeling of yes, 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 as you think about your goal. And then we're going to wrap up and you'll go to lunch. Shake your body out. Repeat this phrase after me. Now I am the voice.
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 I will lead, not follow.
I will lead, not follow.
I will believe, not doubt.
I will believe, not doubt.
I will create, not destroy.
I will create, not destroy.
I am a force for good.
I am a force for good.
I am a leader.
I am a leader.
Defy the odds.
Defy the odds.
Set a new standard.
Set a new standard.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Use your whole body. Now I am the voice.
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 I will lead, not follow.
I will lead, not follow.
I will believe, not doubt.
I will believe, not doubt.
I will create, not destroy.
I will create, not destroy.
I am a force for good.
I am a force for good.
I am a leader.
I am a leader.
Defy the odds.
Defy the odds.
Set a new standard.
Set a new standard.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step
Step
up.
up.
Think about what it means when you say, now I am the voice. Your real voice is never the voice of fear. Your real voice is never the voice of worry. Your real voice has strength and certainty within it. It knows the truth of who you are and what you're made for. Breathe like you breathe when you feel strong. And when you say, now I am the voice, that means you're no longer the voice of fear, no longer the voice of your past. It's who you are made to be. When you say, I will lead, not follow, that doesn't mean other people have to follow you. It just means you live life on your standards and that you'll never settle for less than you are made to be or do or create in your life, that you will not settle. How does it feel when you step up and you claim who you are? Make a sound of how that feels in your body, ladies and gentlemen. How does it feel to create, not destroy, to create love, to create joy, to know in your life you're a giver, not a taker, to know your life matters? How does it feel when you know you're here to lead? What does it feel like when you look at your fear, or you look at your laziness, or you look at your past, and instead of dealing with it, you defy it? How does it feel when you stand in defiance of anything that would stop you? How strong do you feel when you say, give me your best shot, and you push through it? How does it feel? What kind of pride do you have inside when you just step up and claim your true identity, when you raise that standard? Think about what that means, and we'll do this 6 times with all your intensity in your body. Here we go, nice and loud. Now I am the voice.
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 I will lead, not
I
follow.
will lead, not follow.
I will believe, not doubt.
I will believe, not doubt.
I will create, not
I
destroy.
will create, not destroy.
I am a force for good.
I am a force for good.
I am a leader.
I am
Defy the odds.
defy the odds.
Set a new standard.
Set a new standard.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Use your whole body. Now I am the voice.
Now I am the voice.
Now I am the
Now
voice.
I am the voice.
I will lead, not follow.
I will lead, not follow.
I will believe, not
I
doubt.
will believe, not doubt.
I will create, not
I
destroy.
will create, not destroy.
I am a force for good.
I am a force for good.
I am a leader.
I am a leader.
Defy the odds.
Defy the odds.
Set a new standard.
Set a new standard.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
One more time. Now I am the
Now
voice.
I am the voice.
Now I am the voice.
Now I am the voice.
I will lead, not
I
follow.
will lead, not follow.
I will believe, not doubt.
I will believe, not doubt.
I will create, not
I will
destroy.
create, not destroy.
I am a force for
I am
good.
a force for good.
I am a
I
leader.
am a leader.
Defy the odds.
Defy the odds.
Set a new standard.
Set a new standard.
Step up.
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 Whoa. Come on. I want you to feel your center right now, your strength. I want you to just inside yourself, promise yourself you're never going to settle. Never settle for less than you can be. do, give, or create. Think about what you were made for. Every month, every molecule, every atom in your body is replaced. Every year, every cell in your body is replaced. The skin on your hands gets replaced every 30 days. The inside of your stomach every 6 weeks. The body that's in front of me right now that you're residing in is the 2007 model. The 2006, no longer here. It's been ashes and dust for a long time. So if every 30 days, everything inside you, everything that physically makes you up is something new, that means today you're a different person than you were a month ago. The reason your life looks the same way is because you keep thinking with the same standards, the same organizing beliefs. But you change that, everything changes. All you got to do, my friends, is hold a new standard that you're going to constantly strengthen your state, your focus, your physiology.
Okay, how weird was that? But it kind of feels good. It's
Gotta
really,
love Tony.
really awkward to stand up and talk like that in front of a bunch of people. But if you start doing little things like that every day, it'll help change your mindset. And anything you can do to better yourself as a person. That's why all of you are on here watching me talk about you don't even know what yet. Clearly, it's navigating the realities of MHP investing. There's so many courses out there and so many gurus that are teaching you how to do it. And they make it sound so simple. And there's a few things that we're going to touch on today, but I'm mainly going to focus on the realities that aren't talked about, the elephants in the room when it comes to mobile home park investing. It's a great asset class to be in if you're not already in it. If you're looking to get into it, I highly recommend it. It's changed my life. I hope you all enjoyed that quick little video. If you want the link, just shoot me an email and I can send you that video. But I think you all understood the point of that. And some of you might even have felt a change if you were paying attention in your mindset shift towards feeling good and feeling positive. It might have taken a while, which is why we said it 7, 8, 9, 10 times before your brain clicked and said, I kind of feel better when I say that. And I don't do that to say I'm a leader and I don't expect anybody to follow me. But when you say things like that out loud, it really does affect your life every day, those incantations. So with that said, we'll get started here and I'll get you guys the information you came for. I appreciate everybody coming. Jason Ramshaw of Rhino Communities. We do a lot in the industry. There's a stigma to mobile home parks and mobile home park investing. We want to do our best to get rid of that because at the end of the day, everybody talks about how mobile home park operators are slumlords and they just make cash hand over fist and the tenants think we're stealing from them and all. That's not true. How many people in our country prior to allowing 15 million extras in don't have homes? A lot. It's a big problem. We don't have enough housing in this country. We don't have enough affordable housing in this country. And the government doesn't make it easy in this industry. There's not many parks. I can think of 6 off my hand that are being developed across the United States. And what does that mean for the industry as a whole? If you paid attention to economics class, even in 8th grade, there's a supply and demand curve. And yes, like Frank Rolfe said, there's about 40,000 mobile home parks in the United States. They're not building thousands a year more. We're all fighting over homes to infill our parks. We're all looking for cash. And at the end of the day, what we're really doing in order to be successful in this business is you have to provide clean, safe, affordable housing. And that should be your business model. And if your tenants are happy and you're communicating properly, that's going to reflect directly into your pocketbook. And yes, there are a lot of mobile home parks that cash flow. And you can take $25,000 a month out of the pot. There's a lot of mobile home parks that don't cash flow. And by cash flow, I don't mean there's no cash going through. I mean the expense ratio where the operator or the new operator that's taken over hasn't properly planned or prepared, not because they didn't want to, but because nobody told them how. Or maybe they didn't do their own due diligence. And in the consulting side of mobile home parks, I've seen one too many operators make the same mistakes. Actually, I've seen one operator make every single mistake possible on one deal. They never went to the park. They were told the homes were in great condition, no water leaks. She took him for his word. I don't know how many of you guys would buy a used car for $5,000 if you live in Missouri and the car's in Wyoming and you've never seen it. For $5,000, are you going to want to test drive that car? You bet your ass you are. Too often, people don't test drive the parts that they buy. And we're not talking about 5,000. We're talking about 200,000, 600,000, 1.5 million. So figure out how to navigate the screen here. We're going to talk about insights and strategies for success when it comes to managing your mobile home park. And we're going to talk about some of the harsh realities. And I'm not trying to steer you away from investing in the asset class. I'm laying all the cards out on the table so you're made aware of some of the realities so you can be a better operator, a better investor, a better person. You can have a better family life. You can have more money. And the things that we're going to talk about, I've learned through not only my own experiences, but through consulting other failing operators on their experiences. And I probably owe you guys an explanation on the Rhino because most of you have followed me or seen me before. I used to be a part of Elephant Capital Partners. And my best friend and I just kind of went our separate ways in the asset class and had different ideas on where to take things. And I thought that the Rhino was the perfect, and turns out to be better, of a brand for this industry. Because you have to have thick skin to be here. It's not easy. And you don't make all of your money all of the time just because you own a park. So don't think you're gonna buy one, it's gonna straight cash flow and you're gonna have an extra 10 grand. For the first 3 years, the park has likely been mismanaged by these moms and pops that have owned them. And you're probably underestimating the amount of capital that you're going to need to quickly turn that thing around from a D grade or C grade to a B, or a D to a C, or a B to an A grade park with little beautification improvements like a fence or a playground, or offering a paint program for the residents, or making sure every home has all of its skirting. And little things like that increase the value in your property. And you make your money in investing when you buy and sell and when you refi. But if you have a distressed property and you're purchasing it on a seller carry note, for whatever reason, either A, the park can't be financed, or B, you can't get financed by a bank, and you've negotiated with the seller to carry the note for 5 years. At the end of that 5 years, that balloon payment, which is the majority of what you owe that seller, is going to come due. And if you watch the news, there were a lot of notes that came due starting from about COVID until now that were unable to be met. And all these sellers received their parks back. They got to keep the down payment. They got to keep all the hard work the individuals put into the property. And then they either said, wow, this is much easier to manage, I'm going to keep it now, or they resold it again at a higher price. And maybe this time it didn't have to be seller finance because now it was bankable because of all the hard work. But the individual just didn't plan on, how do I make this balloon payment at the end of the 5-year term or 7-year term or 3-year term or whatever it may be. And there's a certain set of steps that have to happen between the time you close on the property and the time you go to refinance it with the bank if you are under seller carry. There's things that you have to do to make that property increase in value. And you need to be aware of those things. And for everybody that's on this call, when it's over, you can reach out to Shane. He has 3 handouts for you. One of them is an on-site due diligence checklist. One of them is an off-site due diligence checklist. And then in the event that you're brave enough to take on some private utilities, which in my opinion are not an issue if you know what you're doing, there's a questionnaire for you to make sure you check all the boxes when you're talking to the seller about their private utility systems, whether it be a lift system, a lagoon, septic. Is it master metered water? Is it direct billed? All of these things come into play. So the things we're going to talk about, challenges of managing a park remotely. My first park was 30 minutes from my house. Other parks that I've been involved in are across the country from me. As far as mobile homes go, there's this myth of permanence that once that home's there, it's going to stay there. We're going to talk about bad managers, how to balance your lot rent increases and the consequences of doing that wrong. The reality of turning around parks that are vacant. Don't get sucked into this is the best deal in the world because you think you're getting a good price on a vacant park and you haven't considered what it's going to cost you to fully infill that park. Sometimes you can buy a 20 space park with 8 homes in it. I have one listed right now for $200,000 for 20 pads. But to fill the rest of those pads, it's, let's just call it 50,000 times 12, 600,000. So you're paying 3 times as much to infill that park to get the tenants. than you paid for the property itself. And I'll show you what happens when you do fill that park and you spend that 600,000. What do you get back from your $800,000 investment? What is your park now worth? Is the juice worth the squeeze? If you buy a park for 200 and you put in 600, and most people in the beginning, like I was, are thinking, well, where the hell am I going to get that money from? There's ways. There's people out there willing and wanting to put their money somewhere other than a bank. Cindy knows a lot of them. I know you guys already know that. Water costs can be one of the most draining operational expenses. A, there's a bunch of leaks, or B, for whatever reason, the landlord is paying for the tenant's water. I would love it if every home I lived in supplied me free water, but that's not the case. There's a myth around used park-owned homes. We're going to talk about navigating listing websites for deals. How do you determine the market demand just beyond whatever test ads you're running, if you're even running them? I've talked a lot about this, the importance of capital reserves when you buy a property and calculating your anticipated costs that you're going to need. You're going to need a balloon, and maybe not. Maybe it's a 20-pad park, all tenant-owned homes. They've all lived there for 40 years. It's all direct billed utilities right to the tenants, and the park runs itself. That's great. If I could buy 80 of those, I would today. But it's hard to find them, and it's very competitive to get a hold of them. How do you find somebody to manage the park? Because if any of you own a park currently, you know that it's very time consuming. There were times at 5 properties when I was managing them myself where I would literally find myself crying in the shower, right? Because that's the place where men do it and they can let it all out. And I did. And I'd go to bed and wake up the next day and watch my Tony Robbins video and then get to work. More importantly, the people that I kept on my bus in life, and when I say bus, I talk about if you're living your life, you have to picture yourself as the bus driver. Now you have one yellow bus, and that's your life. And there's a big ass rear view mirror up here. And when you look in that rear view mirror, look at all the people that you see. Who's on your bus? Is Tom in the 4th row to the left one of the most negative asshole individuals that you've ever met? Who's driving the bus? Why is Tom still sitting on that bus with you? You need to pull your bus over and get rid of all of the negativity and the negative people and influences that you have in your life and get them off of your bus. Because as far as we know, we only have one shot at this. And 70 years, maybe, the first 30, we screw around. Maybe age 30 to age 55, we're working as hard as we can before we get too old, that we're too tired, that we can't do anything anymore. You don't have time, excuse my French, to fuck around with those types of people on your bus. So I urge you to use that analogy and think about who's on your bus, and take it a step further. Think about who you want on your bus. Maybe you want Tony Robbins on your bus and he's not on it. If you tell yourself, well, it's impossible, Tony Robbins is never going to get on my bus. Well, you're right. You just told yourself that it's impossible, and you believe what you say to yourself. So he will not get on your bus simply because of the fact you just manifested it by saying it. We're going to talk about challenges of infilling vacant parks, passing through water costs to tenants, and how that affects your pocketbook, selling used park-owned homes and the pitfalls to avoid. On these MHP listing websites, there's a reality check we're going to talk about. Understanding market demand, reinvesting the money that you've made, which is what investing is all about. It's not about short-term gains, it's about long-term gains and building a financial castle for not only yourself, but your children, if you have them, or your extended family, or whoever you're going to leave your legacy to. It's not easy work. So when we talk about the reality of cash flow in mobile home park investing, really there's a lot of contributing factors here. But the three that pop up the most would be aging infrastructure challenges. Now, the opportunity that I consulted on that I told you that operator made every single mistake in the book, the water lines were crushed, there were leaks everywhere, the homes that were in good condition were beyond repair, all 30 of them, and they were park owned. Now, luckily, a lot of the tenants had lived there for a long time and they wanted to stay there. By the grace of God, in a 48-hour period, I had converted 30 park-owned homes to 30 tenant-owned homes, thereby taking the burden of the repairs and the maintenance of the home off of the operator and off of their pocketbook, because they weren't going to survive under those conditions, and giving the tenants the homes that they lived in at no charge. Their rent went down, and we were able to raise the lot rent by $100. They still were paying hundreds less, which they then used to improve their own homes. And we set a new market lot rent in the entire area at one of the shittiest parks in the area. There's long-term issues with water and sewer lines. Anytime you buy a property, you have to camera the sewer lines. They'll tell you there's no leaks. What is it made? When were these parks built? In the 60s and the 70s and the 80s? What did they use in the 60s to construct sewer lines? And anybody ever heard of Orangeburg? Clay pipes? That it doesn't last long. If it's made of Orangeburg, it's collapsing if you just touch it right now. If it's made of clay, you're going to have to replace it. It might have another 7 years left. You might be able to get by, but you need to get a camera in there, and you need to check for breaks in the sewer lines, bellies, dips. And if there's an issue, then you need to talk to the seller about it. Say, hey, John, all these numbers are great. Everything you told me great, but the whole sewer line needs replaced. That's going to cost me $280,000. Do you want to fix it before I buy it, or do you want to reduce the price by $280,000 because you're the one that mismanaged your sewer lines, not me? And if you don't look at that ahead of time, then you're paying for the previous operators' shortcomings, whether they knew what they were doing or not. Pinhole leaks, missed sections of Orangeburg, missed sections of clay. I see all the time when we scope the sewer lines. The seller will say, yeah, we replaced everything with PVC. The seller didn't dig up all the lines and replace everything. They had it repaired when it leaked. And they don't make Orangeburg, or they don't use clay anymore. So on the repairs, 80% of it is PVC, because that's what was replaced. The other 20% that we don't even know where it is without a camera is still that Orangeburg. And it's only a matter of time before that bites you in the ass. Water is one of the most deadly but silent killers. And I highly recommend sub-metering all of your parks. And there's a company called Metron Sustainable Services. You can rent these meters from them for $7 a month. It's got a cell phone signal on it. And every day when you wake up, you can open your dashboard. And I can see at all of our properties, unit by unit, who's using what water. And it'll notify me if there's a leak. It'll, with the AI technology that's out there, it'll notify me that most likely this leaks in the bathroom and it's a toilet seal. And that's probably one of the #1 silent killers, would be a leaking toilet seal, because you're just leaking water. And if you're paying for the water as a landlord, you're losing money. If the tenants are responsible for their own water bill and they get a bill for $440, do you think that they're going to look into what's leaking in their home if they have a bad toilet? Absolutely. They don't want to pay $480 because they leaked 40,000 gallons in 5 days. I don't want to pay it either. I have to pay a water bill as well. Slow eviction process is all about getting the right tenants in place, and that starts with a background check, making sure you're not bringing in a criminal or someone who was just recently evicted. When people have issues in life and they were evicted, I was evicted when I was 19 because I didn't have any money. I shouldn't have moved out. He was right to do so. If you don't pay your house bill right now that you're worried about paying, that's due in 5 days, you know, if you don't pay it, the bank's coming after you. They're going to take your house. It's the same program. It's no pay, no stay. And you should have a set of rules in place that they follow. And if they don't play along with those rules, it's no play, no stay. Evicting non-paying tenants, 1, takes longer than expected. 2, can be difficult to navigate depending on the state if you haven't done your due diligence, especially in tenant-friendly areas, Colorado, California, Washington, New York. And when you're evicting a tenant, you're not receiving income from that tenant for however many months they haven't paid you. You have to pay a lawyer to go evict them. You have to pay someone to clean the home, get rid of the trash once you've kicked them out, probably remodel the home if they haven't cared for it, because they haven't been paying for it anyway, so I doubt they care. And then that takes 4 months. Maybe it takes 6. Maybe it takes 2 if you're good at it. But you're losing money every month because of that. So if you're thinking, should I or shouldn't I evict them, you can't base it off their personality. It has to be equal rules across the board for every tenant, because we want it to be fair for everyone. You can't make exceptions for Judy because you like her and have Jane evicted because she's not equally as behind as Judy, but Jane's a bitch. They both got to go if they aren't paying. When we talk about managing a park remotely, remote management can work. You need systems in place. It works really well in strong markets, especially if you have reliable managers. How do you get reliable managers? You need some kind of training program for your manager. You have to set standards, and we use SOPs, which are standard operating procedures, and we have them documented for every single process for our managers. They say, a tenant just came in and asked me how do I fill out an application. I said, did you check the SOP? Oh yeah, it's right here. Actually, there's a video that shows me how to fill it out with them. Okay, great. And all that stuff takes time to set up. It's hard to find decent vendors. It's often that you find yourself dealing with unreasonable tenants. And those parks that are all tenant home, direct build, they've all lived there forever, they require a little oversight. Those are hard to find. An inadequate manager, whether they're unresponsive or neglectful to your requests. Hey, send me a photo of unit 17. You don't get it for 3 days. There's a root underlying deeper issue there. And sometimes it's our fault. Maybe we're trying to get by just saying, here's free lot rent. Do a whole bunch of work for me. It's only part-time. I promise it's not that much. And if they feel like they're insufficiently compensated, which, to be honest, if you have a job, you probably feel that way anyways right now. That results in difficulties attracting high quality managers. High quality person to say, I'm not going to do all that shit for lot rent. I'll do it for $1,000 a month. Well, how much more are you going to make if you have a manager that's diligently involved in your property than if they're not involved at all and you're struggling to get a photo of unit 17 from 5 days ago? There's a myth of permanence when it comes to mobile homes. And I strictly stay involved with the mobile home asset class. I've dipped my toes into parks that have some RVs, but it does scare me that RVs are on wheels and they can just drive them off. I feel more secure knowing that the mobile home there on my property is permanent. Most of those homes tend to stay in place. It's also important to recognize in competitive markets, you can see a lot of homes leave your park. For example, at one of our properties in Illinois, we put up a sign that said, we'll pay for you to move your home here if you want to move into our community. We knew it was cleaner. We knew it was safer. We knew it was more affordable. We're okay to pay their moving costs. Where are they moving their home from? Other parks. What are we doing? Infilling our lots. That's competition. And the pressures from other park owners in that specific instance might entice tenants with these move out specials that make it worthwhile for them to relocate. If you're poorly managing your property and someone else isn't, and they pitch them better, then why wouldn't they relocate their home to a better site? So being prepared for those battles and being proactive instead of reactive help you retain tenants, especially in high vacancy markets. And again, having a strong capital reserve will help you navigate those challenges effectively. And when we have a bad manager, which this is one of the more frequent calls I get when consulting, how do I improve my manager? You just have to take a realistic approach to it. I mean, how did you improve your child? How have you improved through your job? How did your manager or boss teach you how to be better at whatever it is you do? Good people don't make good managers. They make better managers than poor people making good managers, but good people can also be poor managers. A lot of times they will just shy away from tough conversations with problem tenants. There's a way to teach them how to handle that. And the hard truth is, if their performance doesn't improve after some sort of period of, we've told you 18 times, what don't you understand? Can we help you figure it out? It's time to move on. Find someone who's motivated and capable of doing that job. When it comes to lot rent increases and consequences, how much should I raise the lot rent when we buy this park? Right now it's $200. The market rent in the area is $450. We should go right to $450. Do you think the tenants are going to sit well with that? Probably not. Can they do anything about it? Probably not. If everyone else next to them is paying $450, they're not going to move. They're going to pay you the $450. But they need to see boots on the ground that you're actively involved in creating an affordable, clean, safe community. Gradual rent increases are necessary to keep up with inflation, operating costs, preventing your park from crashing or some sort of redevelopment. Timing is key. It's important to space out those increases. I hear a lot of operators say, well, I like to do just $10 like 4 times a year. That way they don't know it's a $40 rent increase. It just feels like $10. No, it doesn't. It feels like 4 increases per year. They don't care what the amount is. They just think increase. Oh my God, increase. Every 3 months, there's an increase. It's okay to go $40 one time a year.
Yo también,
Only one,
nada de lo material, meterlo menos.
and there's only one increase in their lot rent, and that's a mental game for the tenant. Avoiding backlash. If you want to avoid backlash, if you raise lot rents too quickly, I saw a guy in Illinois come in and do exactly what I just said. Take lot rents from 200 to 600 because that was market, and guess what happened? Every single home moved out. He killed the park. You need to take a strategic approach, balance the need, your need as an operator for that increased revenue, along with your expenses and the way you're managing them with the tenant's satisfaction. And that's crucial for maintaining a stable, profitable, mobile home community. You also have to consider the market dynamics. Where are you at in the country? Are you out in the boons, and or are you in an area where there's 30 other parks around that they can just get up and go? And maybe they're charging less. Tenant affordability, that's essential when you're implementing lot rent increases. The reality about turning around vacant parks, it's very time consuming. Now you might say, oh, there's only 10 lots for me to fill. I'll have that done in a year. Have you done it before? It might take you longer than a year. Sometimes it might take you a year to find a home if you don't know what you're doing. One home. Have you sent a zoning request letter to the city to see how they're going to react when you bring in homes? Hopefully you did that during due diligence and you already know what your rules and regulations are. We're very good at navigating zoning. And then having not necessarily substantial, but substantial to your investment and your pro forma and what you're looking at needs to be done at the property. That capital budget that you planned out for yourself will mitigate some of the delays, but it's essential that you understand you have to be patient throughout the process. So if you have 40 vacant pads and you're on a 5-year balloon and you think, I'm going to fill all 40 of these within 5 years, this thing's going to be worth $4 million, I'll have that seller paid off in no time. And for the first year, you get hit with water leaks and frozen pipes and tenants moved out and they're mad there's new ownership and you got to work on refilling. And then you got to fix this person's home because you have all these park on home. And then this person moved out and you got to rehab that to refill it. Time goes by pretty quick. And before you know it, it's been 2 years. Now you have 3 years left. You haven't infilled one home yet. Not because you weren't trying, because you weren't being efficient with your time and prioritizing and or delegating to the right people those things that need to happen. I'll touch on this because if you ever talk to a seller on the phone, it's very important to give them choices and let them decide. If you go to one of the blogs on rhinocommunities.com, there was an article that I read about baseball stadiums, Coca-Cola machines, and Pepsi machines. They did a study, Harvard. If you're walking through the baseball stadium, regardless of your preference, Pepsi or Coke, and you see a Coke machine, more people are likely to keep walking, even if they're thirsty, even if they're not thirsty. But when they put a Pepsi machine next to the Coke machine, something happened in people's brains. And it was no longer, should I get a Coke or not? It was, should I get a Coke or a Pepsi? And Pepsi and Coke sales skyrocketed when they placed their machines side by side. Next time you're at a baseball game, you'll notice it. So they, as competitors, decided it was best to be right next to each other. Because now the consumer has to make a choice. Which one do I want? Because before it was, I don't think I want one. Little side note there. Water costs, easy money or complex issue? Probably a complex issue. You're going to raise rents $40, and the tenants have been used to getting free water, and then you're going to bill them back for their water at the same time you do the lot rent. It's not a $40 lot increase. It's an $80 lot increase. We all know that we provide affordable housing for individuals in this country that either A, lifestyle choice, or B, financial decisions in their life have put them in the positions that they're in, and that's all they can afford. Now, you might think I could afford an extra $80 a month, no big deal, but they might not be able to absorb that. So maybe you start by billing back the water first. Let everybody get comfortable with that, and then do your lot rent raise, or vice versa, depending on the situation. It's better to phase in those changes gradually to manage the expectations of your tenants. If there's a restaurant by your home that you go to and you consistently get served shitty food, you likely aren't going to go back, and you're likely going to tell 7 other people how bad of a job that even that McDonald's does with cold fries. And those 7 people might tell another 7 people, and there's another McDonald's a mile down the street. Everybody's gonna, that's heard that, is gonna say, I want hot fries, I'm going to that McDonald's. If you're not recouping at least a minimum of 70% of your water costs due to leaks or faulty sub-meter readings or not billing back, you're taking out your wallet with a stack of $100 bills and flipping them into the trash can. That's money in your pocket. When we talk about used park-owned homes, that's what I like to target. A nice used park-owned home in the 2000s, 16 by 80 or 16 by 70. These new homes are very expensive. And if you're not in a strong market, you're not gonna be able to sell that home for $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, are you? If you're in a fiduciary market and rents are lower and you need to infill homes, you can't afford to bring in beautiful brand new homes, but you can get some nice, good used park-owned homes. And if you can't sell them for cash right away, you can put them on a contract for deed. Or if your model is to run it as a park-owned home community, then more power to you, but you're responsible for the repairs then on those homes. But when you're selling used park-owned homes, and the way we do that is through 21st Mortgage, whereas they'll let us sell the home to the tenant. Tenant moves into our property, we run a background check, no pedophile, no evictions, verification of income, 2.5 times the rent at least. They're covered, I'm comfortable. I then send them to 21st Mortgage for their application, and they let you charge 1.1% over Kelly Blue Book value plus any additions you put into that home. And they specialize in lending for mobile homes. And often it's of the benefit of the tenant, because if you own the home, the tenant's going to pay you $350 lot rent and $500 for the home rent. That's $850. But Mr. Tenant, you've lived here for 10 years. What if your lot rent stayed the same, you stop paying $500 a month for your home, and you pay $383 a month, and in 3 actual years you own it? Does that interest you? Well, yeah, that interests me. Fill out this application. Hand it to 21st. 21st approves them. They have a 3% default rate. Very, very low. So if 21st Mortgage approves them, 21st Mortgage will cut me a check directly for the cost of that home. And then the tenant pays me lot rent and pays 21st Mortgage their home mortgage. If they default on 21st Mortgage, they're going to take the home back. If they default on my lot rent, I'm going to kick them out of the park. If they own the home and they're good and clear with 21st, they can't live in their home unless they move it from the park, which is at least $8,000 to get it moved. And if they had $8,000, they probably would have paid you and not gotten this far behind. So likely you're going to end up with a home with a note on it to 21st Mortgage. If that happens, and I haven't had that happen yet, they'll give you 90 days to make the payments because they know your job is to fill your park. You're going to get another tenant in there and resell the home. And they'll handle all the back end nonsense trying to collect from the individual that defaulted with them on that loan. It's definitely, in my opinion, often wiser to sell those homes for little to none or modest profit or even break even, depending on what market you're in. Because it's better to have someone paying lot rent on a vacant lot than a vacant lot. Because when you buy a mobile home park, you're buying a parking lot, essentially. And if you ever been to an event that charges for parking, the lots that charge 10 or 15 are further away, but they fill up quicker. And the lots that are closest to the ballpark stadium are 3 times as much, a lot more convenient, but a lot nicer. Probably have security on standby, and the $15 lot doesn't. But that approach just helps avoid ongoing maintenance costs that will eat you alive and financial headaches. Also, tenants that are renting a home from you do not have the mindset of home ownership. So if they get mad and lose their heater and get so pissed off that the guy's drunk and he punches a hole through the wall, you're fixing that, not him. He doesn't care. If he owns that home, he's going to think twice before he punches a hole in the wall or shoves a bunch of stuff down the kitchen sink and tries to use the garbage disposal to get rid of it because they're too lazy to throw it away. Pouring oil down the sink, clogging up all your sewer pipe. Communities that are full of homeowners are much more stable than communities that are full of home renters. When you're looking for listings and you're going through all these websites, a lot of people say, Jason, how do you find all your deals? Well, I'm on the phone all day, every day for 12 hours, talking to sellers all across the country. It's a whole nother story on how do you find them? How do you find their cell phones? How do you get a hold of, every time I try it, the park manager hangs up on me. How do you get around that? That's a whole nother conversation that we don't have time for today. But deals, and when I say deals, I mean 9 cap, 10 cap, 11 cap, 12 cap. Those are rare in today's market. And if you don't know what a cap rate is or why it's important to your deal, that's something you need to know too. If you want a 20% return cash on your investment, your cap rate for the property needs to be 3 points higher than the interest rate. Interest rates right now, I just had someone on a property come back and they're a first-time buyer. They were quoted 8.6%. Whereas experienced operators might be able to pull off a 6.2 or a 6.7. When you get at 8.6% and you're buying at a 9 cap, you're only 0.4 bips away from any cash on cash return. So cap rates are very huge. If your interest rate is 7, your cap rate should be 10. If your interest rate is 6, your cap rate should be 9. And a lot of times, I know this for a fact because I'm not a broker. And people would say you're a wholesaler, and that might be true, but Rhino's kind of redefined the way that that works. Because when I talk to sellers, it's more like you don't have to list with a broker and pay them all this money. I know a bunch of people looking for parks. And through the assignment game, it's easier for most individuals that are looking for their first parks, rather than spend 2 to 3 years looking for it, finding it, analyzing, paralysis through analysis. It's much easier to get a full deal package put right in front of you with all the information you need so you can make your decision. And there's some value to that. And some wholesalers will just give you the contract and call you in 90 days when they think they're going to get their check. Rhino will stay with you the entire way because we've heavily invested into the seller. If anybody has a park or is putting one under contract, you know, it could take a month. It could take 3 years. I have deals I'm still working on from 4 years ago. Persistent in my follow-up. Sometimes I'll call and just ask them how they're doing. I do care because I want to know when they're going to sell. And I want them to know when they do sell that I'm the one they need to talk to. But you can go on these MHP listing websites, and brokers may have a different approach because they want to get a hold of the deal for 120 days or however long it is. So they might say, Mr. Johnson, Jason Ramshaw offered you 350,000. My God, I could get you 890. No, they can't. They can try, but there's one simple formula to determine how much a park is worth. And if someone wants to pay more for it, which there are people out there that will overpay because they have so much money, they literally just need to park it somewhere in a park. But often the listing price is not the selling price. And if the listing's been up for a long time, nobody's bought it because it's overpriced. So go on those sites and practice analyzing deals and how they came to their numbers. And make sure when they're doing their formulas, they're not placing a cap rate on the park-owned home income. Well, if you have 20 lots filled, all park-owned homes, and your lot rent's 200, and your park rent's 500, each tenant's paying 700. That's 20 tenants paying you $700 a month times 12 months. The park seller is going to say, I gross $168,000 a year. The bank is going to say, those park-owned homes are a liability, but we'll give you credit for the $200 a month for the 20 tenants lot rent, paying for the land for $48,000. It's a big difference. A lot of times you'll see the cap rate is placed on the park-owned home income. And that looks good on paper, I'm sure. But by the time you get to the bank, and if it is a seller financing situation, and the bank never gets involved and nobody ever checks your figures, then you're massively overpaying only because no one ever told you. Pay attention to the cap rate for your cash on cash return. Or you just took the pro forma that was provided to you by whatever company or seller you were dealing with, and you said, my God, this thing's worth $7 million in 5 years. Huh, fuck. And they're only selling it for $800,000. I'm buying it. make sure you understand those pro formas and how quickly they're calculating the infill. Okay, if there's 40 vacant lots, they might say 15 in year 1, 15 in year 2, and the remainder in year 3. You got to work really hard to make that happen. The best deals, in my opinion, are often found off market, and off market deal means it's just not under control of a broker. It's direct outreach. Built a rapport with the seller. A lot of times I'll be on the phone and I'll ask them if they're interested in selling their property, and they'll say no. Okay, Tom, I was going to offer you $1 million. Would you take that? Well, yeah, I'd take $1 million. Well, Tom, you just told me it wasn't for sale. Well, it's not, but I'd take $1 million. Well, Tom, it's not worth $1 million. I know, but I'd take that. So there is an amount that you would take, Tom, for your park right now. Even though it's not for sale, there's a number somewhere in your head that you would take, right? And so when I hear the word no, I don't hear the word no. I hear, what don't I know yet? What am I missing? Why doesn't he want to sell it? Maybe they just don't want to sell. But you have to talk to them like person to person, human to human. It's not a trick or treat. It's not Halloween. We're not knocking on the door and expecting treats and doing tricks. We're trying to help them make an easy exit. More often than not, by the end of the conversation, I found out that they want to sell it more than anything in the world, but they've been screwed over so many times in the past talking to this guy or this company or that company, and they've had to do documents 19 different times that they're just so tired they're going to die with it. So what we then do is take that person's problem and turn it into an opportunity. Connect them with the buyer and make sure it's a very easy exit process for the seller. And that takes a load off the new buyer who's purchasing the deal or partnering with us on the deal, because we built the rapport, which has probably taken months. We've collected due diligence, which once we're under contract, they have 20 days to provide us. So on a 90-day contract, if you're buying it from a wholesaler, you should really be at day 31 out of 90 when you take the assignment, meaning you've already looked at all of the paperwork. Now it's time to say, this works for me on paper. I'm digging into this thing. And you agree to the assignment, and you pay the fee for them doing all that work for you. And then you start your own due diligence. And what does that mean? That's a whole nother chapter that we don't have time for today. But I did provide Shane with some handouts to give you on-site due diligence checklist and an off-site due diligence checklist to kind of point you in the right direction and give you an idea of the things you should be looking for every single time before you decide to invest. And so take advantage of those if you don't have them. If nobody shared them with you, now you have them. If you need a more extensive one, I can help you with that later. When you're looking at a property, a lot of people have their buy box, right? And they say, I need a metro with 100,000 people. I need a median home value of at least 100,000. And it's got to be city utilities and it's got to be direct build. That's great. You know, go to Willy Wonka land and you'll find it over there. Okay. Because that's not the real world. And if you're looking at market demand and the seller says, I have no problem filling this thing up. Every time I put an ad out, I get 1 million people. And that's the only thing you're testing. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's high demand translates to this long-term sustainability of your property. Test ads can provide misleading results, I have found, especially in stagnant markets. Got a bunch of tire kickers. It looks like there's a lot of high demand, but the market's just stagnant. So you want to look at the area. One of the places to do that is go to bestplaces.com and just type in the city or the town or the metro that you're looking at and get the stats. Look at the population. Look at the unemployment. Look at how much it costs to rent a 3-bedroom apartment. All that information is all on that website. If a 3-bedroom apartment in the area is $1,700, which is about average today in the US, and you have a 3-bedroom mobile home available with its own front porch, its own driveway, its own mailbox, and some type of amenity beyond that even, and they can get that for $900 a month, that's where they're going to go. So test ads don't tell all. You want to focus on areas that have obvious growth potential, not dying markets. I think everybody knows that. When we talk about capital reserves, it's very important. If you purchase a property and think, oh, I don't have the money for the repairs yet, but I'll get it as they pay lot rent, probably not a good model. It may work, but it's a good idea to look at the overall picture and say, okay, this is probably how much I'm going to need to fix the roads, trim the trees, and infill the houses. I at least should have 60% of that ready to go in a bank account before I go in. So if the park's 200,000 and you're getting 70-30 on your loan, and you need to put down 60,000, that's not exactly the amount of cash you need to get the deal done. There's other costs involved. So instead of raising 60,000, maybe you raise 260,000. To most people, that's more than they've ever made in 3 years. So they're thinking, where the hell am I going to get that money from? Ask around. Cindy's group, more importantly, focuses on that. Has a ton of individuals who want to lend money, but they don't want to work. They've already worked. That's why they have all that money. Now their money's working for them. They want to give it to you, and they want to get their percentage back, and they're doing that over and over and over and over again until they're Warren Buffett. So if you have enough capital reserve, that's a safety net for handling major repairs and infrastructure upgrades. One of the first properties I bought, I went out there and I'm explaining to all the tenants along this line right here and down here and this way, we're going to put the nice white picket fence up. Right here's the brand new beautiful green sign. And what do you guys think about this section for the new mailbox clusters? Because I don't even know how you guys get your mail, or it stays in, there's no doors on the mailboxes. And the septic system, the leach tank field where the tank sits, collapsed. $40,000. Day one. Unexpected cost. I'm thinking in my head while I'm talking to tenants, well, I can't put the fence up now or do the mailboxes or trim the trees because I have to fix the septic thing first. And that's okay. That happens. You just have to be prepared to pivot. You got to be prepared in advance to know what to pivot for. If you don't know the rules of NBA basketball, you can't just jump on the court and start playing. They're going to blow the whistle every 30 seconds on you. Having that capital reserve allows park owners to navigate through all these cash flow challenges from these cash flowing properties and maintain long-term profitability. So investing in that capital reserve up front is going to prevent, even though it might cause you anxiety up front, I promise you it's less anxiety then you're going to feel when you're in the middle of a financial strain that's going to kill your property. That's a worse feeling than not having planned for the money up front. And at the end of the day, if you're buying a mobile home park, your goal is to ensure the sustainability of that park. And how do you do that? Maintaining the infrastructure, keeping the tenants happy, doing little things like community events, spending time with your park manager, talking to them, understanding the tenants' needs, and not finding yourself in a position where the septic tank fails or your sewer lines collapse and you don't have the money to fix it. You can't afford to even pay the seller the note that you agreed to pay them because you don't have the money for those repairs. Now, not every park needs repairs. A lot of them do. How do you know what repairs the park needs? Use that checklist that Jane has. Check it off. Oh my God, Mr. Seller, everything is absolutely great here, but we noticed there are no utilities set up on the 15 vacant lots. There's no electric pedestals. I can't find a sewer line. I thought I could just put 15 homes in. But now you have to spend $15,000 on electric pedestals, sewers per pad to get the utilities ready to even put a home there. And you don't know to look for that until A, you've educated yourself that that's something you should look for, or B, it's too little too late. And I have made so many mistakes like that have cost me so much money, but in turn I've received a lifetime of education on what not to do to prevent that. And I try to share that knowledge with as many people as I can, because I want anyone in this industry to be successful, to help play a role in providing affordable, clean, safe housing for massive amounts of our population that don't have that, and shift gears that affordable housing and mobile home parks are not a bad thing. They're very much needed in this country, and you should be proud if you're in this industry. When I'm looking for the most capable manager, someone you need eyes and ears, someone to hand out late notices or talk to your tenants, let you know what's going on the ground, I'll drive around the property first, and I'm looking for the cleanest yard, the best looking home, because likely that's the individual that cares most about their home. They have a high sense of pride in home ownership or just renting their community. And if they're keeping their own yard clean and their neighbors aren't, that's not fair to them. It's not fair to Judy that she looks out her window and sees a stack of 6 mattresses behind Alan's house. I don't even know where all the mattresses came from, but apparently he collects mattresses. You can't do that. That's a violation. 3 violations, you got to go. Ensure that your managers are staying responsive, that they're proactive. Talk to them. If you've managed the property yourself, explain to them the challenges of the operations involved in operating a mobile home park. And if you haven't ever managed a mobile home park before in your life, and you don't know what it's like, and you can't have an honest conversation about the challenges of mobile home park operating, then you need to call 10 different mobile home park operators that you know and ask them about the challenges. So you can then have that conversation with your manager. And there's plenty of people who are very gratuitous in this industry that when they started, like myself, had individuals like Frank Rolfe or Ferd Neiman, the mobile home park lawyer, as mentors guiding them through the first couple rough years, also doing the same thing for individuals now. And if you'd like me to put you in touch with some of those people, then I'd be happy to do so. I have a ton of friends who love talking to people who are going to buy a mobile home park because we want to see everybody succeed. It's a group effort. It's a small world. There's 40,000 parks. That means there's at a maximum 40,000 owners. But we all know that multiple companies and multiple individuals own multiple parks. So the number's far less than 40,000 owners. When we talk about rapid lot increases, I think everybody knows what the risks are, right? You're gonna have backlash, potential vacancies, gradual increases. If you don't keep up with that, you're not gonna cover your operating costs. Milk, bread, eggs, cheese, everything goes up every single year. And when I say prevent redevelopment, I mean, your park has gone to shit and there's nothing left to do but mow it down and put a quick trip there. So it's crucial to space out your rent hikes to allow tenants time to absorb that increase and adjust their lifestyle and avoid creating tension. If you rush the lot rent increases, like the example I talked about before, that's going to strain your relationship with the tenant. They're not going to want to answer the phone when you call or the manager calls, especially if they're late on rent. But if you have a good relationship and they're late on rent, they'll answer your phone and talk to you. Not if you don't have a good relationship, though. And that's going to impact the long-term stability of the operation of your property. More importantly, it's going to affect the long-term stability of your own pocketbook. Infilling vacant parks, I mean, it's a challenge. There's delays at every step, from permits to finding reliable installers. I hired a mover one time to move a home to a park on pad 17. The mover got there, nobody's there to tell him what to do. He just leaves the home right at the beginning of the park. Now what? Need to hire a new mover to come out and pick that home up and then move it to that site and put it where the first guy should have put it originally, but maybe I didn't explain where I want it. Maybe I told him the manager was going to meet him there and the manager didn't show up. Maybe I said I was going to be there, but I forgot it was that day. Well, that's costing me money now. Again, here on infill, having those capital reserves in your back pocket can help you, but you can't expect miracles, especially when you're dealing with third-party services. You just need to stay on top of that thing. When we're talking about passing through water costs to tenants, if you have a park where the landlord's just paying for all the water and there's a master meter, so meaning there's one meter at the front of the park and it's spinning for all 20 units, and the park is paying for all that, that's fine. You can do RUBS in some states, which is billing back the tenants an equal portion of the total amount of water used. But if Susan is 90 years old and lives by herself and her next door neighbors are a family of 5, and Susan's paying the same for her water as the family of 5, one of the two parties are not going to be happy, and it's probably going to be Susan. This is why submetering the homes and putting the financial responsibility of the water on the tenant based off their actual usage will put you above that 70% recapture rate on the water. And again, be careful when you do this, because billing tenants for water that they previously were used to being included in their lot rent is effectively a lot rent increase in their mind, and it should be treated as such. The individuals that live inside affordable housing communities can't absorb as much as individuals who don't live there. And managing the expectations, communication's key. And like I said, it's better to phase in those changes gradually. Recouping costs, you know, when you're doing your math, you can say, John Seller, Mr. Seller, let me see your full water bill for last year. Oh, okay, it's $10,000. My plan's to come in and put sub-meters on everything and charge them directly back. Don't assume that you're gonna get all 10,000 back, because you're gonna have leaks. Some's gonna break. Maybe right before the home, it's your responsibility. Before the home, after the meter, it's their responsibility. Expect to recoup about 70%, and those metrics can go up, especially if you're using a company like Metron's water meters, highly advanced, and seems like a lot of money, $750 per unit plus, you know, minimal setup fee for your community. You might say, I don't want to spend that money right now, but you're actually losing money from the income that you would receive from the water usage from the tenants by not billing them back and not being able to show them, your water bill's $400. Look, this is how much water you use. You tell me, what are you doing? Like, how long are you taking 10 showers a day for 3 hours? I don't know. Maybe they have a leaking toilet seal. Leaks. If it's an older property, you're going to want to look at every sub-meter because it likely could be faulty. And majority of them have been tampered with by residents who try to dial back the odometer on their used car so they don't have to pay for their water usage. The tenants might act like they don't know what's going on, but they know. When you're selling used park-owned homes, some pitfalls to avoid: tempting short-term profits. It seems lucrative initially, unless you're in a really strong market and you have an A-grade park. It's going to be really hard for you to make immediate short-term profits off your homes. You should be more worried about filling that vacant lot however you can. When you have used park-owned homes, there's always the risk of major repairs. One significant repair, if the roof starts caving in, or that can literally erase years of gains from selling those homes, not to mention the lot rent that you're losing. Ongoing hassles. I mean, I had a park. We had some residents in there that were government funded. That was nice because the government pays rent on time and they pay way more than what we were charging. But if a doorknob was loose or an outlet was shaky, I mean, we were getting phone calls 30 times a day. I mean, I got a call at 3 in the morning saying that there were bees outside of this lady's front porch. My advice was go to Walmart, I guess, if they're open right now. I'm sleeping, and get a can of Raid and spray the bees. 3 a.m. is not appropriate time to let me know. I answered the phone because I knew who it was. I thought maybe her house was on fire or something, but it was just bees outside at 3 in the morning. Break-even sales doesn't mean that you're losing money. It means that you're gaining lot rent. And how are parks valued? Number of tenants paying lot rent times whatever you're charging for lot rent times your expense ratio times 12 months. And that number equals the actual NOI of the property. And then when we talked about cap rates earlier, if you wanted to buy at a 9 cap, you would take the NOI and divide that by 0.09, and that gives you your purchase price. Now, if it's all park-owned homes, the only thing that that equation doesn't account for is there is some value to the personal property there. So then you need to assess the park-owned homes. Okay, we have 5 2000s. They don't need much work. They're worth 20,000 a piece. We have 6 1990s. Those are worth 12.5. We have 17 1980s. Those are worth 5K. And then we have some 1970s. Maybe those are worth 3K. And maybe we have a couple demos. Those are worth negative 3,000 park-owned homes. So consider break-even sales just to get someone in the home and paying you lot rent, because that equals stability. And it's often a safer long-term strategy. We talked about this, MHP listing websites, finding great deals. It's rare in today's market. Typically, you'll see 5, 6 caps. They're looking for those big fish. It's better to utilize those sites for deal analysis and also networking with brokers. Networking with wholesalers is good as well, because those are the guys that wake up every morning and they have the drive to make the phone calls that you haven't made yet. People will say, how do you find so many deals? How many sellers have you called? None. I understand why you can't find any deals if you haven't talked to any sellers. How do I get their phone number? How do I know where parks are? MHPstore.com has all the parks almost in the country listed out by area with the address and the park phone number. If you can get past the gatekeeper, the park manager, to get to the seller, now you're having a conversation with the decision maker. That's why the real deals are often discovered off market and by direct outreach and building relationships. And I can promise you that is a full-time job. Right now, I'm working on 62 different individual conversations with sellers who have agreed to sell their property. Right now, I have 17 parks that are under contract that we're either buying or we're marketing or we're strategically partnering with another individual in the space. Right now, I have 12 purchase agreements out for execution, meaning another 12 more parks going under contract. Anybody can do it if you hustle and you grind and you execute. I understand that's hard if you have a full-time job and you're looking to get out of that and get into something like this. That's why you need to take advantage of networking with different wholesalers and people in certain Facebook groups that can assist you in finding the property that you want. So market demand, again, high demand can also be temporary. Economic factors can change rapidly. I love a park that's within 5 miles from a massive Walmart. Do you have a massive Walmart, super Walmart near your park? You're solid. You think Walmart just goes around building super Walmarts wherever they feel like building one? No. They probably spend millions of dollars researching the metrics of the area, the demographic. And when they put one up, they know it's going to be successful or they wouldn't put it up. Is there a military base nearby? A big one. Are there major industrial meat manufacturing plants? Is it a Orlando, Florida, where it's a ton of people? Majority of them are tourists and the rest of them live there as service workers, making about minimum wage. Where do you think they live? So test ads might not always reflect the true demand. The stagnant market can definitely skew the result. And you obviously want to focus on areas with growth, economic growth. Look at the businesses that are there. Go to bestplaces.com. Look at what's being built. Oh my gosh, Boeing's building a factory 2 miles down the road. They're not going to be finished till 2026, but oh my God, those people are going to need somewhere to live. And consider those long-term demographic trends. Then reinvesting. You want to do this one time and take your money and go, that's fine. But it's very hard to get your first park. And if you just now decided today that you want your first park, it's going to be at least 12 months before you get it. Because you're going to analysis through paralysis. You're going to shop around. You're going to look for direct build, city utility, all tenant-owned homes. That's what everybody's looking for. So investing, and especially in this asset class, the reward, the juice from the squeeze is definitely worth it. But you don't necessarily see those immediate gains. And maybe it takes you 3 years, and then you can take your first property that you bought for 400 and sell it for 980. Now you're up $400,000. You can go buy a house, or you can use that $400,000 and use it as a down payment on a $1.5 million mobile home park that you never thought you'd be able to own. That is cash flowing, that can give you $25K in your pocket a month. But even then, do you need $25K a month to live? No. So what should you do with that money? Allocate a portion of your profits, one, towards regular park maintenance and upgrades, or the park is going to go into disrepair and end up looking worse or the same as when you bought it when it was in disrepair. You're saving yourself money by preventing costly repairs in the future. I mean, we always look at landscaping improvements. Well, if there's a nice area, we'll put a fence up for a dog park. I mean, there's nothing that you need in a dog park besides a fence. And the whole community will use it. Some flowers, new mailboxes, overall park aesthetics actually increases the property value tenfold for what you paid for those aesthetics, and creates a more welcoming environment, which in turn attracts better tenants and in turn gives you a more stable asset. In some states, you know, I haven't done this, but they'll implement energy efficient solutions to reduce operating costs on sustainability, lowering the utility bills, promoting environmental responsibility. That's great, but to me, that ends up costing more money than what it's worth. At the end of the day, the older homes, if you've ever been inside one, they're not well insulated. In the wintertime, it's freezing. And in the summertime, if you're like me, I keep my AC at about 66, 67. Your electric bill from your AC on your poorly insulated unit is going to be more than your monthly rent for that home. But if you can provide on your park-owned homes, spend a little extra money on some of the newer insulation side paneling that they have, you're going to have happier tenants. And again, it's going to gear you towards a more stable property in the long term. We talked about investing in community amenities. Doesn't have to be a lot. It's a couple $1,000s for a nice little playground setup that you can have ordered and have somebody at the park put it together for $300. And the kids love it. New mailboxes, they love that. Park benches are cheap. People will go out and eat at them. Flower beds, mulch around their homes, anything that enhances the tenant satisfaction and it attracts new residents when they drive through. Upgrading infrastructure, water and sewer systems. Sometimes they need those upgrades, sometimes they don't. You should learn that during the due diligence. You want to be as proactive as possible to prevent any failures in those systems. And again, you're reinforcing this long-term sustainability in your investment, and you're supporting the park's growth and the park's development. Thriving markets are the key to success for any product, even if it's Q-tips and humans start getting more wax in their ears due to the new COVID variant. That's a thriving market for Q-tips. Key to MHP investment success, markets with high demand and growth potential. Again, go to bestplaces.com. Offers more stability, more potential for increased property value. You have to do your due diligence on the park, but you have to do your due diligence on the market. Market research is essential to identify areas with that strong economic growth and housing demand. If you look at any given city on Best Places, it'll tell you the percentage of people in that area who are renters. It will also tell you the percentage of homes available for rent that are vacant in that area. If 80% of the rentable homes are vacant in that area, it's going to be very difficult to infill your park. But if 3% are available, to me, the 3% vacancy sounds like, well, there's a bunch of vacant homes. Maybe they're in disrepair and they can't be rented out, and there's only 3%. So anytime a good one comes along, it's going to get rented. Those are metrics you want to look at. Obviously, markets that are stronger in those numbers are going to yield you higher occupancy rates, yield you better quality tenants, and at the end of the day, better return on your investment. Is that it? That's it. I'm sure that there's a ton of questions, and I'm happy to answer them. Shane, you can go ahead and unmute everyone if you'd like, and I'm happy to answer questions.
If anybody has a question, want to raise your hand, we'll gladly take your questions.
And guys, just remember, there's no stupid questions. Nobody knows what they don't know. So if you think it's simple and you should ask it in private, you should ask it in public so everybody knows, because everybody's thinking the same thing. Everybody has the same set of questions in their head. I can't give you all the answers in 1 hour. I could probably spend 3 days with you, 8 hours a day, and run through a 800-page book on everything you need to know. But I can't do that today. But I do appreciate everybody coming and everybody listening, and Shane and Cindy for having me. I hope you get some use out of the giveaways that Shane's going to send out. I hope you had the opportunity to scan the QR code. If you are looking for properties, it's a good idea to get in touch with me, because I probably know or can find what you're looking for. And the first step in that process when someone new calls me is to discuss their goals. What are they looking for? What are their ultimate goals? Do they just want a little bit of passive income? Do they want to dive head first? Do they just want to get their toes wet? And there's different type of properties of different size and demographics and geographical areas that will suit that. Maybe you want one right by your house, so you're comfortable. But every time you call to find out if they're selling one, the first question they ask you is, do you own a mobile home park? And you say no, and they hang up. Because they know it's likely you're not going to get it done and you don't know what you're talking about. And that's how I can help some of you. I have limited time, but I'm always available. And I talk to Shane all the time and Cindy all the time. And if you can't reach me, you can ask them. And I prioritize their emails, that's for sure. So when I see those, I get right on them. But go ahead.
Jason, McKenna Ullman says that she has a potential deal, and as her hesitation is currently trying to find a lender or raise capital. Do you have any pointers for raising capital for a mobile home park or financing it?
Yeah. What's her name?
McKenna, are you available to come off mute?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you guys?
Good, thank you. What's your question?
Okay, so I have a potential deal. There's a lady who bought a mobile home park, and she lives 2 hours from the mobile home park, but we only live about 30 minutes from it. And she just is a newbie. She has no idea how to manage property at all. And so she essentially wants out of the deal. She's willing to seller finance, willing to partner. We haven't really decided what we want to do with it yet. Because what I'm trying to figure out first before I go into the property is actually figure out how much I can get a refinance for, or how much it could possibly appraise for once I'm done with renovations.
Okay. Do you mind sharing some of these details publicly and we can do a little exercise? Do you have, I don't need to know where the park is, but how many lots is it?
Sure, yeah. So it's a portfolio, so it has 27 mobile homes, and then it has 5 single-family residences and 1 duplex.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again here. And I'm going to walk you through how to quickly evaluate what I think you should pay for that property. And I'll show you guys exactly how I do it. Can I share my screen again?
You should be able to, Jason. I still have co-host powers. There you go.
You got it?
It just shows a blank screen.
All right, so let's run through this exercise together. The name of the park is Angela, right?
We don't see anything, Jason. There you go. There you go. Now I got it.
Okay.
But you're gonna have to zoom in on that. We sure can't read it. There you go. Better. Whoa, now.
Whoa. All right, so this is XYZ Park. How many total lots are there? I know it's a portfolio, but let's treat it as one park. So how many total lots?
So there's 27 mobile home lots.
How many of those lots are occupied?
11.
And what's the lot rent?
I don't know how she's separating right now. She's only given me like the full amount because they're all park owned homes.
So we have 11 park owned homes. And that means we have how many vacant lots? 16?
Yep.
And there's no vacant homes on the property?
The duplex is vacant.
So there's one duplex. How much repair does that need?
Less than 5 grand.
Okay, so you put 5 grand into it. What do you think you can get out of that duplex a month?
About 950 each side.
Okay. And the park-owned homes, what's the average year on those?
That is a really good question. I have no idea.
That could make or break it.
Okay.
On price. If they're all 2010s, then you're going to pay her more. But if they're all 1980s,
Mm-hmm.
with the duplex and the 1980s homes, the personal property amount would be 108,000.
Okay.
Now the utilities, what's the setup on the utilities?
It's city owned, and then she said that they tenants pay all utilities.
And what are the roads made out of?
Gravel.
All right, so you want to look at, are there any overhanging trees? Are you going to have to redo the gravel? And what area is this located in? A major metro or kind of a smaller outside?
It's a smaller area. It's Dothan, Alabama. It's kind of like 70,000 population wise, but the mobile home park is directly in the middle of like downtown.
And how much does she want for it?
She hasn't really decided because she still hasn't decided if she wants to sell or finance it to us, or if she just wants us to just bring in renovation costs, or if she wants us to buy her out completely. I think she just kind of wants to become a passive investor on it, but she wants us to bring 400,000 to the table
For what?
for renovations and fixing everything up.
Okay. But she didn't give you an idea as if she was going to sell it, what she would sell for.
She bought it for 700 back in January, so I don't imagine it would be less than that.
I would say that, you said that they're all included. So you have to kind of do an internal breakdown here. And you do that by looking at the market lot rent. So if we can't tell what her lot rent is, we need to look at the parks around her and see what they're charging. And then we would pick a number for lot rent that's underneath market rents. So if market rent's 350, everyone else is charging 350. Let's say her lot rent is now 275, and the difference is the park-owned home rent.
Right. I know she's currently renting on average, each of the mobile homes are about 750 total.
Yeah, 750. So let's just call it 250 on the lot rent, and then they pay 500 for their home. So the deal upside here is that there are, first of all, we're going to run it at a 40% expense ratio. It means 40% of all the money that comes in, she has to spend on either park repairs or water or hiring tenants, and likely with 11 occupied mobile homes, her expense ratio is probably 50%. Now, when you come in, your expense ratio is probably going to be 120% because you need 400 grand to fill it out.
Right.
So if we're at a 40% expense ratio, we have 11 occupied at 250, and she's going to sell or finance it. If it's, I'd have to look at the metro, and you can email me. We can talk about this offline because I could get her on the phone and have a model set up that you and her agree on.
Okay.
That turn down, where you can get a hold of that property for seller finance, because partnering with her probably isn't a good idea. I don't know how long she's owned the park, but she clearly hasn't made much progress here with all these lots. That a 40% expense ratio. Yes, she's making more than 33,000 on her gross annual rents because she has income coming in from park-owned homes, but that's adjusted in her expenses because she has more expenses to take care of those.
Gotcha.
At a 9.5 cap rate, the quick valuation for that park's 208,000,
Okay.
right? Now
Yeah.
you have to add in this park-owned home stuff. So we got 11 homes at 3,000. Plus, I'll just flat rate that duplex at 75,000. So plus the 108. I think the total purchase fair price there is $316,000. And for you, there's 16 vacant lots, and there's $100 per lot in market rent upside. So when you value add that infill, the value add amount there is $424,421. That's what you get additionally per year when you bring in 16 homes.
Okay.
Per year, you get an additional 424. For the rent raise, if you bring market rents up, let's say you convert them to tenant-owned homes, maybe you sell them to the tenant.
Okay.
A little bit back, and they're and you get it up to market rent $350, then that $100 upside at 27 lots that you now have sold is $83,368 per year. So your upside is $507,789. So if you buy it for $316,421, you fill it up, it's much nicer now. You get the expenses under control, and you want to go sell it in 5 years, then you can sell it for just about $1 million.
Okay. Okay.
All rough numbers, and I'd have to take a look at the deal specifically, but feel free to reach out if you want, or you need some help coaching her into the fact that you're not in the business of investing with failed park owners.
Fair.
There's definitely some work to be done there, but boy, the upside looks nice, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Maybe market lot rent's 400. It's going to take you a while to get there, but it jumps. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Next question.
Do we have another question? Angela or Jenny, do you have anything for us? Do you have any questions for Jason?
Don't be shy.
That little bit of quick underwriting, you can really see where Jason has a way to look into those parks and pull the little pieces out and quickly analyze in a rough way, right? To get an evaluation. And if you can do that, then you have the strength when you do your negotiations, you know, what number you need to be at. You don't want to end up overpaying for a park. Imran, do you have a question for us? No, okay, perfect. Well, again, we appreciate Jason coming on. You know, we've had Jason on the show before. He's been a member of good standing in Creative Real Estate University. But beyond that, I consider him a true friend. He's just a brilliant guy. And if you spend any time with him, when you talk about mobile home parks, he is on fire when he gets going. So he's just a wealth of information and contact. So it's been a pleasure, Jason. We love having you in the community. And thank you. I know how busy you are, and giving up your time today is amazing. So thank you very much. Appreciate you.
My pleasure. And thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me, and Shane will send out the giveaways. And thank you for being here.
And take a little bit for the recording to get processed, but I'll send that out as well. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah. You have a wonderful night.